Good morning, all, and I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone this morning to our Huron County Council meeting. Welcome to all members of Council and to our staff that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interests of the Corporation of Huron and all of the residents within. Welcome also to all members of the public that are joining us and the media this morning. I would like to indicate that Huron County Council meetings are available live through Zoom, and the recordings may be posted online on the County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. At the outset, the first thing I would like to do is, on behalf of Huron County Council, CAO work, and all of our staff, to offer our sincere condolences to the family of Bert Dykstra. Bert's funeral service was yesterday that CAO work and myself attended. Bert was a former Reeve of Central Huron and a past warden of Huron County in 2010. And out of respect, our flags were flown at half-mast prior to the funeral yesterday, in both acknowledgement and honor and respect of Bert's municipal contribution. On a happier note, I would sincerely like to welcome our Director of Planning, Sandra Weber, as our acting CAO today. Welcome, Sandra. With that, we do have the agenda that has been circulated in advance, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda, and that would be Councillors Becker and Finch. Are there any questions? All in favor of the motion? And that is accepted. Thank you. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof of any agenda item that we have today? And I'm going to go first to Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I have a pecuniary interest with respect to item 11.4, the recommendation to award RFP HC 24-503 engineering services for bridge and culvert OSIM inspections in the County of Huron to BM Ross and Associates. I therefore declare a pecuniary interest, and the general nature of my interest is that my daughter is employed at BM Ross.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Noel. Duly noted. Any other conflicts of interest today? And I see none. We do have the minutes of the 6th day of March for approval, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these. P. Heffer and Councillor Anderson. Are there any questions on these minutes? All in favor of adoption as circulated? And that is carried. Thank you very much. It is a pleasure today, under item 5 on delegations, petitions, and presentations, to welcome Jessica Linthorne today. Jessica is the Chief Operating Officer of the Nuclear Innovation Institute, and Jessica will provide an overview to us for us to consider the possibility of Huron County joining the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition as a regional collaborative partner. Welcome, Jessica, and we look forward to your presentation to us today.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thanks for having me today on this snowy day. I'll share, last week I made a similar presentation, a delegation to Georgian Bluffs Council, and on that day it was beautiful and sunny, and the weather's different today, so that's okay. We will welcome spring when it arrives. As mentioned, my name's Jessica Linthorne, and effective last week, I've been appointed the interim Chief Executive Officer at the Nuclear Innovation Institute. Really looking forward to advancing the work of the team at the Nuclear Innovation Institute. We are located in Port Elgin with a secondary location just outside of Bruce Power in Tiverton at the Bruce Energy Park. So our technology campus, which we'll look forward to maybe coming back in the capacity of the Nuclear Innovation Institute and telling you a little bit more. But today I'm here to speak about the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition that I am a proud co-chair of. I'd like to begin by recognizing that medical isotopes that are produced at Bruce Power are produced on Saugeen Ojibwe Nation territory at the Bruce Power site. I also want to speak about a partnership between Bruce Power and the San, pronounced Gazukamin Akazawin. This is a partnership, very meaningful partnership that has a positive impact on cancer treatment for the world and an economic opportunity for the San territory. Gazukamin Akazawin translates into, we are teaming up to fight the sickness. I bring this partnership to your attention and invite you to learn more about this partnership by visiting fightingcancertogether.ca. So with that, I'll jump into the next slide, please. The Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, as a group, we're coming together to realize that we have a very incredible opportunity in front of us. We're a region of diverse companies. We are producing isotopes here on the territory at the Bruce Power site. We're committed to working together collaboratively to produce an ecosystem that will support medical research, but understanding that we have to work together towards our skilled labor force as well. And it is going to require a collaborative approach to develop this ecosystem. Next slide, please. As mentioned, I am a proud co-chair representing the Nuclear Innovation Institute. James Skonyak is a co-chair representing the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council, as well as Mayor Ian Boddy with the City of Owen Sound. And these three groups came together last March. It would have been about a year ago when the Isotopes for Hope report was released through the CNIC, the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council. And the report, and I'll speak a little bit to the report in a few moments, Mayor Boddy attended that presentation at the Empire Club and was able to come back to the region with the recognition of Bright Shores Health Services in Owen Sound, launching a research and innovation office at Bright Shores, recognizing Georgian College in the region, the Sydenham campus with workforce development, and Mayor Boddy pulled together a group to have this conversation, really understanding or learning how we could leverage this and how we could develop this ecosystem. Very collaborative. This isn't about one municipality. This is about three organizations coming together to leverage and build this coalition, and that's why I'm here today. Next slide, please. So the Isotopes for Hope report, as mentioned, it really does indicate what the global market demand will be. And we know that we can help build out this value chain right here in Southwestern Ontario. We are home to the largest isotope production source at Bruce Power on Saugeen territory. And the global demand for isotopes is only growing. If you have a chance, I will invite you to visit the CNIC website and learn more about that Isotopes for Hope report. I'm certainly happy to circulate following the presentation as well. Next slide, please. Again, we do need to take a collaborative approach. We recognize that there is power in collaboration. I've been thrilled throughout my career and through my time with the Nuclear Innovation Institute to work with Director Vicki Loss, to work with Grey County, Bruce County economic development professionals, really advancing as a tri-county region of Bruce Grey Huron. We know there's power in collaboration, and when we have an opportunity like this with isotopes, we don't underestimate that. There's no boundaries when it comes to fighting cancer together. There's no boundaries when it comes to receiving treatment for cancer. And there's no boundaries when it comes to developing an ecosystem to support that so we have a healthy future. So we must rise above those typical municipal boundaries. We must capitalize on partnerships, leveraging local entrepreneurs, leveraging technologies that are here in our region. We don't underestimate the power of rural Ontario. We see smart people doing incredible things every single day, and we want to harness that power together. Also, we need to raise awareness for the future demand of these medical isotopes. It's significant, and we have a leadership role to play. James Skonyak often reminds people that the world needs more Canada. Canada's producing these isotopes for the whole world, and we need more Canada, and it's our opportunity as a region to do this together. Next slide, please. There are 5 barriers identified in that Isotopes for Hope report: infrastructure, logistics, market adoption, economics, and labor and training. These are 5 areas that we are committed to looking at and working with the CNIC. As referenced, so CNIC is the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council, is a national group looking across the country. We, as the Southwestern Ontario group, are bringing all of that knowledge right here, focusing on Southwestern. And just as a bit of context, we have sort of aligned our boundaries with the boundaries of the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus. That's how we are defining. Having said that, McMaster University is a big player, so, you know, reaching over towards Hamilton. But that's sort of the catchment that we're talking about when we do talk about Southwestern Ontario. Next slide, please. We did host an event, so the photo here on the stage, we're recognizing a number of partners that have joined us in this journey as the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. That event last October took place at the BWXT facility in Owen Sound. BWXT is a founding member of the Nuclear Innovation Institute, is a top supplier at Bruce Power, and they're doing incredible work and advancement with OPG as it relates to medical isotopes. And they certainly see a space for their business to continue this with us. So it is a public-private enterprise that we are developing. We've got supply chain partners involved. We have entrepreneurs such as Azad is in this photo, and she's the founder of a company called AI Valley, where she's doing artificial intelligence and clinical trials based out of Owen Sound, but having access into different hospitals and post-secondary institutes with the work she's doing. Again, just an example of, we know that there's very smart entrepreneurs and innovative thinkers right here in Southwestern Ontario that we can leverage. So we are advancing with quarterly meetings. We had a meeting last week. Vicki Loss was able to join. I appreciate Vicki's support as we've been advancing this work. We certainly appreciate the warden and CIO Wark attending the Canadian Nuclear Association conference last month. And hopefully you did have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the work CNIC is doing and SOIC. We're building a roadmap, again, advancing what does this path look like? How are we going to be able to move this work together? Lots of delegations like this, which I'm very proud to do. And I'm sure, you know, as I've spoke today, I hope that you can see the enthusiasm that I'm bringing. And I believe that with this initiative, we will be able to change the world. As cliche as that may be, I see it and I'm hungry for it, and we're going to do it. We are looking at different funding. We have a couple of funding applications out to different groups that are supportive of ecosystem building, specifically groups with medical isotope ecosystem building. There is opportunity to achieve some of this funding to help us leverage the work that we're doing. So with that, I am here today asking Huron County to consider joining us as a member of the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition. There's a URL here online. It's a simple application. It's an opportunity to join us at meetings. It's an opportunity to say that you want to be on this journey with us. Helps us as well. We would look to you to tap into the innovation and the expertise in your region. Gateway is an incredible resource. We're really looking forward to the partnership we've built with them based out of Goderich here. And so hoping that you will join us on this journey, and we're really looking forward to the work that we're doing. Next slide, please. So that's all for me with my content, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or provide any clarity. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for that very informative and heartfelt presentation. Are there any questions or comments from any members of Huron County Council on Jessica's presentation to us? It was very grounding, I will suggest, that when CAO Wark and myself were in Ottawa last month, as Jessica indicated, that Mike Renchek made the statement, 49% of the people within this room will be affected by cancer at a point in their life. And isotope production is so, so important in addressing cancer treatment. So thank you very much, Jessica, for everything that is being done in this regard. And if I don't see any questions or comments, Councillor Basnet, please.
Just a comment, and you know, cancer obviously has affected all of us. I'm sure we've had a family member, a close friend, and this presentation here shows that we have leaders in our surrounding communities that are willing to step up to the plate, so to speak, and try to make a difference. And I like the passion that you show, and the hunger is the word that you used, and that hits home with me. What I'd like to do is just make a motion for a staff report to come back to council with some more information. So that's what I'm doing, making a motion.
And that would be seconded by Councillor Finch. Question or comment from anyone else on this? Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. On the motion, yeah, I'll support looking at it a little further. Again, the organization to lobby different levels of companies, wonderful. The question in my mind is, which we'll have more answers to, and question, but is, as us as politicians, are we hindering it by being for or against? I don't think anybody's against it. We all understand it. I liken it to our industries like agriculture. We certainly are always open to our farm organizations coming to us, and we listen and we give an opinion, but we don't expect, and I would vote no, to say we have to be a member. So that's just a general point, but I look forward to the more information we go forward. But I want to be clear, you're working with people. We go back to Chalk River. Full disclosure, I had relations that worked there. So I was understood what was there. And it's clearly where does the money come from? It comes from taxpayers in the health units, in getting isotopes. It sells itself. It's glad that we're doing them up here in this neck of the woods, because when Chalk River was closed by a government decision, it left the world pretty empty. And then maybe there was some politics in it. Clearly there was, according to some people, but again, I get the lobbying and that's great, but I just keep in mind as colleagues, do we need to be members? And definitely support things, but being a member is an interesting concept, which I will talk later when we get to see the more information.
Okay, thank you for that. So we do have a motion on the floor that's been duly seconded to request a staff report on this opportunity. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jessica. Do we have also a motion to receive this report for information purposes? Councillor Anderson and Dietrich, all in favor of that motion? And that again is carried. And thanks again, Jessica, for your very heartfelt presentation to us, an informative presentation today. This now brings us to councillor comments. Do any members of council have any comments they'd like to share at this time? I'm going to go to councillor Finch first and then councillor Bazinet, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, I've been made aware of a concern about some potential tree removals associated to the Dashwood Road project that's happening this year, and I've had some limited discussions with our staff about it. I'm looking actually for a staff report so we can move forward efficiently on this project and to allow staff to continue with their due diligence, since this is the busiest roadway in Huron County. I think we owe it to the safe passage of all users to ensure we are being proactive to prevent any liability in the future, and quite honestly, to get the project done most efficiently as possible. So I just turned to our staff about any comments regarding that.
Okay, so you're making that a motion for a staff report. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Becker seconds it. Imran, do you have any comment to make on this for council's awareness, please?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, we can certainly bring back a report for that. The tender for that project closes today, actually. So we will probably include the information about the tree in the same report as awarding for the job. So next council meeting, we can bring that report back.
Thank you very much. So the motion is for staff report. Is council in favor of this? Opposed? And that is supported by council. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Bazinet now, please.
Just two quick comments. First, I do have to leave today at 10:45. I have another commitment that I have to attend. And second, just to lighten the mood a little bit, I can see Councillor Ginn on the screen there. And I just want to say it was a pleasure being part of the Huron Hospice celebrity hockey game in his neck of the woods in Central Huron. They have a beautiful arena there that I admire every time I walk through the front doors. But I would just like to say that I coached the winning team and Councillor Ginn coached the losing team. The end.
Thank you very much for bringing that to the awareness of past Warden Ginn and all members of council. Okay, any further councillor comments at this time? Councillor, past Warden Ginn and then Councillor Finch, please.
Yeah, as always, we're a wonderful host at Central Huron.
And thank you very much for that. Councillor Finch, please.
Yeah, thank you. And just FYI, so all members of council are aware, this past Monday night at the South Huron Council meeting, we had an opportunity to recognize a number of our firefighters, and two in particular received their 50 years of dedicated service. One of them was Jim Hoffman, who runs Hoffman's Funeral Home in Dashwood, a great patriot for South Huron, but the other one is John Becker, who sits with us today. So I'd just like to ask you to
Congratulations.
Great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, John, for your dedication to society. Thank you. Any additional councillor comments at this time? And seeing not, I would like to move on to the consent agenda. that encompasses items 7.1 through 7.5. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull for further discussion? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to approve these items with actions as noted. Councillor Van Stone and Alvin McClellan, all in favor of the motion. And that is carried. Thank you. We do not have anything under social and property services today or homes for the aged. However, we do under emergency services, and Jeff Horseman is here to respond to any questions on the transfer payment agreement under 10.1. Does council have any questions of Jeff on this? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive the report for the transfer payment agreement, and that Huron County enter into an agreement, and that a bylaw be drafted accordingly. Councillor Klopp and Noel, all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 10.2 is sole sourcing for the purchase of ambulances. Again, Jeff is here to respond to any questions that anyone may have on this. And in that, Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. I'll make the motion.
Thank you for that. And a seconder for that would be Councillor Harding. And a comment, please?
Yeah, just so the ambulance they're replacing, we sell them as a complete package, or do we take the box off? Or could you clarify some of that, please?
Thanks for the question. Mr. Horseman, please.
Yes, thank you. Through the warden. They are sold as a complete package. They'll be put on Gov deals and they will be for auction, and they'll go as a complete package. So all the provincial equipment, radio equipment's removed, and all of our normal supplies are removed. But the ambulance itself, the vehicle, the stretcher, the power load will be sold as one unit.
Thank you for that. Any additional questions? And if not, we do have the motion, and that is to receive the report for information for sole sourcing, and that we purchase 2 ambulances in the amount of $657,304 and a penny, and that the documents be by bylaw. Is all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. I thank you very much, Jeff. Under Public Works, Imran has a few issues to speak to us about today. The first would be 11.1, and that is the awarding of the tender for traffic paint for 24-25. And Imran is here to answer any questions that council may have on this. Alvin McClellan first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Imran. How much paint is that?
In volume, Imran?
Yes. Yeah, in volume or...
Please.
Should have the number. I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but I can give you the unit rate for the paint if that helps.
Sure, would give me an idea.
So just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull open an email. It is cheaper than what we paid last year. So that's good news. And in 2022, we paid $4.70 a liter. In 23, we paid $4.96 per liter. So this year for 2024, it'll be $4 per liter, and next year it's going to be $4.18 per liter. So it's about a 20% reduction from last tender.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Imran. We like that direction. Any further questions or comments? And if not, thank you. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive the report and to accept the tender of Sherwin-Williams for $709,202.07, and the appropriate bylaw be authorized to execute this contract. Councillor Finch and Bazinet, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Imran. And Imran will speak to us about 11.2, and that is the recommendation to award the tender for the cold-in-place recycling hot mix, paving, and removal of asphalt, and the partial depth open cut culvert. Imran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Through you, just wanted to give a brief background on this project. So we are looking to rehabilitate County Road 3 from Egmanville to Varna using cold-in-place recycling. The project also includes the replacement of centerline culverts through open trenching. The culverts will be replaced prior to the recycling. So the plan is to have the contractor to complete the culverts in spring and then move on to recycling and paving. And that way we can avoid any cuts into the road and patches. We are recommending the award to Levis as a low bid. If there's any questions about the project, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for that. Do any members of council have any questions of Imran on this? And if not, I will entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report. And that is moved by Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Noel, that the County of Huron receive the report and award the tender to Lavis Contracting in the amount of $3,795,888 and the appropriate execution of the contract. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Imran is also here for 11.3, and that is the tender of the rehabilitation of the Fitch's Bridge. Do we have any questions of Imran for this? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to approve this. And that is moved by Councillor P. Heffer, seconded by Councillor Finch. That we receive the report of the Fitch's Bridge in the amount of, and accept the tender in the amount of $1,216,867 and the appropriate execution of the contracts, and that the project shortfall of $124,795 be funded from the accumulated surplus of 2024 projects. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Imran is also here for 11.4, and that is the engineering services for the bridge and culvert inspections. Do we have any questions of Imran on this? And seeing none, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report. Councillor Becker and Vanstone, that we receive the report and award the contract to BM Ross in the amount of $87,819 with the appropriate authorization of execution of the contract, and that the transfer the project surplus totaling $63,366 to the reserve. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. 11.5 is the awarding of the tender for the main street in Exeter. Imran, would you please address council on this?
Thank you, Mr. Warren, through you. So this project is being administered by the municipality of South Huron. It is their connecting link project, and there's just a component for the project that requires the county's contribution. It's at the intersection of Thames Road and Main Street. So the total contract value that is recommended for this project to Lavis is $5,731,790. And the county's component of that is $134,195. So this is a South Huron project. We will not be involved in administering the contract at all, but there will be a financial contribution from the county on this project.
Thank you very much, Imran, for that very accurate oversight on this. Do we have any questions or comments to Imran on this? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder. That would be Dietrich and Finch, that we approve the report and award the tender for the contract in the price of $134,195, and that the appropriate contracts be executed. All in favor of this motion? And that again is carried. Thank you very much. And thanks very much, Imran, for your great work on these projects. Under economic development, it is a pleasure for me to welcome Rick Sickinger today to address council on the 2023 Tourism Annual Report. Welcome, Mr. Sickinger.
Good morning, members of council and senior management team. So I'm going to speak to both of these reports. I'll start with the Tourism Annual Report. This used to be a best practice of economic development to provide an annual report to council and our tourism stakeholders on what we accomplished in the previous year and what has been happening in tourism. I don't think it has happened since 2017, so it was something that I very much had on my agenda when I took over the tourism portfolio to start providing an annual report again. So here we are, goal accomplished. And I'll start by thanking Erin Samuel from Corporate Comms for making it look so good and easy to read as well, acknowledging her. So I'll highlight a few things within the Tourism Annual Report. The first being the actual tourism impact. So traditionally, the province of Ontario used to provide us tourism data on the number of visitors and where the visitors were coming from every year. They stopped doing that in 2017, so we've had no tourism data specific to Huron County since 2017. So Regional Tourism Organization 4, so RTO4, provided funds to hire Ipsos to do an economic impact study for Huron County in 2022. So now we have some data. We had 1.2 million visitors to Huron County in 2022, with a total economic impact of 116 million. To give you some context, the last time we had data, which was 2017, our tourism number was about 950,000. So we've gone up by about 250,000 visitors in the last 6 or 7 years. And that sort of aligns with what we're hearing from tourism operators as well, that tourism has actually increased in the last few years and not decreased as it has in some other areas. I'll talk about the Ontario's West Coast signage program. We talk a lot about wayfinding signage and the lack of wayfinding signage when we talk about tourism. However, I'm just here to sort of say we have a very good wayfinding signage program administered by the county, by both Economic Development and Public Works. We have 67 wayfinding signs across the county on county roads. And there are now 57 businesses participating in that program. It's a very active program. We add about 12 to 15 new tourism businesses every year to that program. Next page is I'll speak a bit to the website stats. So our website, ontarioswestcoast.ca, which is our tourism website, has seen significant increase in the number of page views and the number of visits in 2023. Visits are up 62%. We're a bit suspicious of that number just because we don't know with bots how much it is, but also the page views, which is actually harder to do with a bot, has also increased by 30%. Social media, we're very active on social media, Facebook and Instagram for Ontario's West Coast. We have about 13,000 followers on Facebook and about 4,000 followers on Instagram. And you can see by the number of posts, we post pretty much daily. Our e-newsletter, which is an email, which is what's happening on Ontario's West Coast. We send those out weekly during the peak season, sort of like May to December. And then in the winter months, we send them out monthly. So we currently have about 2,500 subscribers to that weekly newsletter. And oddly enough, most of those are internal. Most of those are people in Huron County. So this is a way that people are finding out what's happening in Huron County easily every week. On that note, if you haven't looked at the events calendar, the community events calendar on huroncounty.ca, I would strongly encourage you to do that. That's an area where we've done a lot of work in 2023. We now aggregate community events from a number of partner municipality calendars as well. So the goal was to have a one-stop calendar for people to find out what's happening in Huron County. And I think we're getting pretty close to that with the Huron County calendar. We do have a calendar on Ontario's West Coast too, but we put more tourism-specific events in that calendar as opposed to huroncounty.ca, which includes all community events. And we spend a lot of time approving events for that calendar. So we know how many events are on there. Going back up to social media, I'll just point out again, who's coming, who's following us, who's on our website. So you'll see that one of the stats there is that from Toronto is 31.6% of our followers. So traditionally, there always used to be a conversation in terms of tourism in Huron County as well as how do we get to the GTA? How do we market to that audience? And so one of the things we found that happened during COVID is as urban sought rural places to visit, we were kind of discovered by the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. And that hasn't gone away. One of the things that Ipsos found in their report too, was that 41% of that 1.2 million visitors were coming from the GTA area. So we've seen a huge, massive increase because it used to be around 6 or 8%. to give you an idea of how much that's increased over the last few years. Finally, there's just some mentions of some of the events that we organized within economic development in 2023. One of them was Maple Mania, very successful. We held that event again on March 9th, last couple of weeks actually, and we'll be bringing a report on that, how the outcomes of that event in 2023 were to next month's council. Oktoberfest is an event we've run for a couple of years now. We changed it this year to offer hop-on, hop-off shuttles across the county, going to all 13 of our wineries and breweries. We're a very big county, as you all know. Having enough shuttle buses to meet that demand was a bit challenging. So we're looking into that for 2024, how we might better be able to promote our wineries and breweries without maybe having 15 or 16 buses running continuously. But yeah, we'll see. And then finally, we worked with the Culinary Tourism Alliance of Ontario in 2023 to host a Feast on the Farm event. Again, it's Huron County. We feel that local food and the agricultural production that we do here is a significant tourism asset. And we really wanted to work with the Culinary Tourism Alliance as that provincial and now national organization to help us get the word out that Huron County is a significant foodie destination. And I think we did that successfully. And that's kind of the highlights of the report, and happy to answer any questions regarding that.
Thank you very much for that report, Rick. Do any members of council have any questions or comments to make? You know, we talk about promotion, and when Rick cited prior to COVID, 8% from the Greater Toronto Area came to Huron County. Post, 31%. Amazing. It's working. Past Warden Ginn, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is under the heading where people come from. And, 19% come from the United States. But what shocked me was the Illinois number at 74% of Americans came from Illinois. And being that it's not a bordering state, I really question that number. But do you have any explanation for that?
Thanks for the question. Rick, please.
Through you, Warden. No, past Warden Ginn. It's a mystery of the internet. Again, those are social media. So why of the 18% of Americans that may be following us on social media, why 4% would be from California? I don't know. We typically sort of ascribe it to like relocation. It's people that have some kind of familial connection to Huron County, and they're just sort of following and watching to find out what's happening back at home is kind of what we expect it to be, but I don't have an actual answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bazinet, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rick, for the presentation. One thing we are noticing too from the Watson's report that we received as well is the growth in population. People are coming here to visit, but now what we're able to do is retain them, and they're staying here in our communities. And we're seeing a lot of people move, for example, Goderich from the GTA area, purchasing a home now, selling their home for X number of dollars, and realizing the fact of what it's like, the benefits of living in a small town compared to a big city. So just wanted to share that as well.
Absolutely. And we've invested as a county in broadband fiber infrastructure, and it's paying off in spades. Any additional questions? If not, Past Warden Ginn, would you like to move the acceptance of this report, please? As you would. Seconder for this would be Councillor Bazinet. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Rick. Would you like to speak to us also on 12.2, the SLED final report and the 24 objectives, please?
Yes, okay. Happy to talk about SLED program. So I think I'll start with a bit of a background about SLED, which stands as an acronym that stands for Supporting Local Economic Development. The program really grew out of, in a previous economic development strategy for the county. Part of that strategy set aside $10,000 for all 9 of our partner municipalities. So it was a $90,000 fund that was awarded to each of the partner municipalities to help move those goals within the economic strategy forward. The program changed in 2018 to be more of a merit-based program, so people had to apply. And there was some adjudication happening. And the program also opened up in 2018 to not-for-profit organizations to also apply. So other stakeholders within economic development could also apply besides municipalities. We changed again in 2022 to be a jury process. And at that time as well, Community Futures Huron started contributing towards the SLED fund as well. So now it's a partnership between Huron County Economic Development Board and Community Futures Huron. And the jury is actually made up of representatives from the Economic Development Board and Community Futures Huron who review the applications. So in 2023, we had 26 applications to the program. 16 of them were approved for funding. And I will note that 2023 was the first time that the program was fully subscribed, oversubscribed actually. And $100,000 was dispersed through the SLED in 2023, which resulted in economic development activity close to $600,000 from the 16 funded projects. And I'll just highlight a few of the projects within the report. It's going to start with the one to Eat Local Huron. For those who may not know, Eat Local Huron is an online retailer of local food. They hosted some farm crawls. So throughout 2023, we helped fund those. They did 3 farm crawls throughout the summer. Each of those farm crawls included 3 to 4 farm locations. They had approximately 1,000 people attend each of the 3 farm crawls, which is like super good numbers. Excuse me. And farmers had sales on site averaging around $1,500 each. So it also helped contribute to the revenue for those farmers. Their marketing was very successful. And also through the program, they were able to add 100 new customers to their own online retail sales. One of the things that I talk about in tourism a lot is that for a county that is so agriculturally productive, we have very few agritourism products that we can market, but funding these farm crawls with Eat Local Huron has made the case that there is a strong interest in agritourism for visitors to Huron County. I'll go to the Goderich Celtic Festival, which, by the way, last month, Festival and Events Ontario named one of the top 100 events in Ontario. So congratulations to them for being recognized that way. Their funding, they applied to funding to SLED to help bring in a special guest star. And I think I can say now that it's over. It was Lorena McKennett, who was headlining the show on the Saturday night. They did this as a way to hopefully attract more audience back to the festival. Theater and festivals in Huron County and across the province and probably across the country are still struggling with COVID recovery a bit. Their audiences are still down. So they thought this was a good way to bring new people who may not have come to the Celtic Festival previously. And it paid off big time for them. Weather also helps with an outdoor festival. But they had budgeted gate receipts of $70,000, and they exceeded that by getting to almost $100,000 in gate receipts as a result of booking that headliner. And that's a 55% increase over their 2022 revenues. So paid to gamble for them. But we were able to help cushion, if that had not happened, their ability to do that. We also helped sponsor the Goderich Salt and Harvest Festival, this was the first year that was held. And again, Councillor Bazinet will know this, but that was also named the best new event by Festival Events Ontario last month. So kudos to them as well. Huron Waves Music Festival. It's a relatively new music festival in the county. They held a Gaia exhibit, which is a large balloon understates it. It's a huge final sculpture of the earth. How about that? And they were, as part of that 5-week exhibit in Exeter, they had 4,000 people come through, and 2,000 of them were youth. So significant youth involvement and engagement in that particular project. And they had 32 volunteers contribute to that project. Municipality of Huron East applied to SLED to create a guidebook and audio for their 3 established walking tours. Again, one of the things that we focus on in tourism is county's a big place. Our job is to market Huron County as a destination, is how we think of it. So we need to work with our partner municipalities quite often to get visitors to move around the county and promote those assets that may exist in other municipalities away from the lakeshore. Although, not to minimize the lakeshore. So this was a great partner project to do that, for them to, create a guide and also create audio tours that took people to the communities of Brussels, Seaforth, and Vanastra to experience what that is what that history and asset is in the county. And the nice thing about this project is once those projects were done, we're working on some other apps to virtual experiences. So Huron East was able to use the audio files and the work they did through SLED to easily turn it into now a virtual experience. Feel like I'm talking a lot.
Oh, and it's all good news.
Okay. St. Joseph's Kingsbridge Community Center. Again, this speaks to agritourism, and I think the real significance, the undervalued tourism asset we still have is agritourism. They have been holding a Kingsbridge musical, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years. One of the ways they capitalized on that event already happening was that they held a Taste of Huron event in conjunction with the musical. So what they did is they had producers from ACW set up and offer samples in the basement, but they also created a farm gate map. So one of the things we know in terms of people, residents and visitors buying local, is knowing even awareness of who sells and what they sell and how they can get it. So this project went a long way again to letting, residents easier access to local food, but also the cottagers and those visitors of letting them know where they can go and what they can pick up. And I'm a big fan of trying before buying. So those samples also really help to build that local food market. And I think I'll wrap up there just by saying that SLED is currently open again. All the information, the application, the guidelines, eligibility is all available online on Huron County under Economic Development. And we once again are partnering with Community Futures Huron. So we have $100,000 to distribute in 2024. And that application intake closes on April 12th.
Thank you very much for that, Rick. And I know that if I may speak on behalf of all of Huron County Council, it makes us proud, the work that the Economic Development Committee is doing on this. And the SLED applications, all municipalities in the county can benefit from that. Do we have any questions or comments for Rick on his presentation to us today on SLED? And if not, thank you very much, Rick, for sharing that information, because it's one thing to do good things and another to share it and not keep it under a bushel basket. So thank you very much for sharing all that information with us today. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this SLED report, please. And that is Councillor Finch and Anderson. All in favor of the motion. And that is carried. Thanks much again, Rick. On to administration. 13.1 is a 2023 public sector salary disclosure of and member of council remuneration. Mike Blumhagen is here to respond to any questions that any members of council may have. It is open and transparent, and if there are no questions, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report of the disclosure of the public sector salary disclosure and members of council remuneration as presented for information. Councillors Vanstone and Harding, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thanks very much, Mike. Susan is here to respond to any questions on 13.2, update on records management program. Our clerk is very competent in this area of expertise and many others. Any questions or comments for our clerk? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to receive this report on the records management program as presented for information. And that is P. Heffer and Councillor Noel. All in favor of the motion? And that again is carried. Thank you. We do have a number of correspondence today that have been circulated. Is there anything that anyone would like to respond on correspondence? And I will go first to Councillor Bazinet, please.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. Item 14.3, Goderich Port Management Corporation, Goderich Harbor Wharf Expansion Support Letter Request. I'm hopeful that this council will support this. I would make a motion to support in form of a letter stating the positive impact from this expansion and the support of the expansion in principle. There's no financial ask here. It's just a letter of support.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councillor Bazinet and seconded by Councillor Klopp. And actually, just on a side note, Roland Howe is a tremendous individual that has really taken this situation and is advancing it. We all benefit within Huron County of this. All in favor of the motion on this of support? Is there, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Is there anything that anyone else would like to pull for support? Alvin McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd like to pull and support 14.16. It's firefighter tax credit. I think they do a great amount of work for very little credit at most times. So I think anything we can do is a benefit to them. So I'd like to pull and support that.
Well spoken. Is there a seconder for this? And that would be Councillor Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion of support? And that again is carried. Thank you very much for that. Is there anything else that anyone would like to pull? Councillor Klopp, please.
Just for clarification, again, Goderich got a letter and we got one back in Blue Water, and that's combining the Roma and an OGRA conference. Did we already support that here? Do you know? That,
yeah.
We have.
Clerk does not believe that we have.
well, I'd make a motion that we also throw our support behind that, please.
And that is item number?
14.1? 1410.
Yep, perfect. 1410. Is there a seconder for this? And that is Councillor Bazinet. And actually, I have spoken to this at previous conventions on it, and it is up to the organizers as to how they execute. However, are we in support of a letter of support to this regard? And that is supported by council. I thank you. Is there anything else that anyone would like to support? And if not, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to accept the correspondence not specifically dealt with for information purposes. Jay Haffer and Dietrich, all in favor of the motion. And that again is carried. Thank you. If there is any new or unfinished business, I would suggest that the CAO be contacted so that it can be placed on a future agenda. Do we have any notice of motion that anyone would have today for a future meeting? I see none. I would to entertain a mover and a seconder for the bylaw, and that would be to move second, give first and second reading and final reading to bylaw number 2024-2022. A mover and a seconder in this regard, please. Councillor Finch and Vanstone, all in favor of the motion. And that is carried. I thank you. We do not have a closed to the public session today. I would like to comment on the upcoming meetings. Library Board is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., 57 Napier Street. And as usual, a hybrid meeting. Council Day 1 will be the 3rd of April in these council chambers, and again, a hybrid meeting. Library Board will meet on the 10th of April, 9 a.m., 57 Napier. Special note that of the Huron County Bus Tour, note Thursday, April 11. It will be leaving from the JMB building in Clinton, leaving at 9 a.m. At 8:30, there will be coffee and crumpets. So if everyone could be at the JMB building in Clinton at 8:30 to leave at 9 a.m. on the 11th. Okay? Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I'm sure that past Warden McClellan is not here, will be early. Council Day 2 is the 17th of April, and again in the council chambers, and the Economic Development Board on the 25th of April.
So that's an additional meeting. Can you indicate the noon?
So the bus tour will be an additional meeting to our regular schedule.
Economic development meetings
Oh.
due to.
That, yes. Thank you very much, Clerk Cronin. At our last economic development meeting, due to attendance for quorum, shortening the meeting, we are adding an additional meeting on the 25th of April to deal with the business that was not completed at the last meeting. So that is an additional meeting. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw to confirm the proceedings. And that is Councillor P. Heffer and Harding. All in favor of this motion. And that is carried. I thank you for that. Thank you very much to all members of council, to SMT, to all of the presenters to us today at our meeting. And with that, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to adjourn at 9:56. And that would be Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor J. Heffer. All in favor of the motion. And that is carried. Thanks very much, all. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you very much to our acting CAO, Sandra Weaver.